This is World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber. World Awakenings is a podcast dedicated to opening your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how they play an all-important role in our daily life. So join Carl on this enlightening experience as he interviews metaphysical and spiritual experts to discuss, debate, and delve deeply into the hows and whys of this worldwide awakening.
Ready.
Are you destined for global impact and financial sovereignty by becoming a certified life coach? Well, Renee Marcoux's iHeart Academy, accelerated life coaching certification program, and business training will help you get there. This is a 6-month immersion program where you'll learn signature strategies to create a life you're in love with. Plus, you'll learn unique holistic coaching methods so you can get your clients' results fast. It's time for you to break free from corporate servitude and stop trading your precious time for money. At the iHeart Academy Life Coaching Program, you'll trailblaze with the top purpose-driven coaches in the Coaches Lounge and quantum leap past any limitations that are currently holding you back. By the end of this program, you'll not only have deeper knowledge to create a booming life coaching business, but you'll be able to take your coaching expertise to a whole new level. Take the first step towards becoming a confident, embodied, impactful life coach with this fun, interactive program, Renee Marcoux's iHeart Academy Life Coaching Certification Program. Click on the link below now. All right, here we go again, my friends. It's time for yet another awesome episode of the show, World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment. With me, your host, Carl Gruber. And after 4 years of doing this show, I am more excited than ever about the light, love, truth, and inspiration this show is bringing to the world with a fantastic array of master teachers, authors, enlightened beings, lovers of light, love, and truth that we've been able to have on this show. And of course, today's no exception. Before we head off to meet our guest for today, please take a moment to click that all-important subscribe button below to help keep this show rocking, and so you never, ever miss a single episode. All right, well, let's check in. We are super excited to welcome today's featured guest, Krysta Lee, who is a multi-award-winning best-selling author of the books Mama's Gotta Grow, Mama's Gotta Work, Women Let's Rise, and Lighting the North, as well as being a life coach, professional actor, and singer with over 3 decades of combined professional experience. And as an activist for personal growth, Krysta Lee is well-versed in personal development, spiritual growth, health and wellness, conscious parenting, motherhood, female empowerment, stage performance, and entrepreneurship. And live from Ontario, Canada, live in concert, here's Krysta. Hey, welcome, Krysta.
Thank you so much, Carl. That was quite the introduction. You are fabulous. Thank you.
Actually, we just got started. We're going to have some fun. But, it doesn't sound like you're bored, are you?
Not one bit. I definitely keep myself busy, and it's a ride. It's a roller coaster of a ride. I'm so grateful to be here.
Yeah, a true human. We're all on a roller coaster ride. But, I've been studying all that you do on your website and everything, and talking to my friend Renee Marcoux, who you've been on her show, Namaste with Renee. So what can you tell me? How did you overcome some of the massive obstacles like debilitating physical conditions, toxic relationships, miscarriages, and more to become this personification of beautiful, healthy, productive, talented, and happy human being? How the heck did you overcome all of that?
Wow, Carl, it's a loaded question, to be honest. There's lots of layers involved for sure. And for me, mindset is the most important thing. So we all go through crazy times in our lives, and things get thrown our way that could put us into victim mode. And I like to think of myself as a victor instead. So, I like to be the one who overcomes. And if there's a very small percentage that something is possible for me to happen that's good, that's what I focus on. So, when I was born, I'll just give a quick backstory of my past. I was born with scoliosis, and I went undiagnosed as a newborn until I was 9 months old. And I had to have surgery to repair my spinal cord, which had developed on the outside of my vertebrae. So that was kind of my first stint at life. That's how it started. But I'm so grateful because my mom worked so closely with me, and I have to attribute a lot of my mindset work and success to her, because she kind of took me under her wing, and without any help from the doctors as far as aftercare goes, she worked with me every day, and she would sing these mantras to me and these little lullabies, and she really, really affirmed that belief in miracles. And so I grew up that way. That's how my life started, was even though it was very rocky, I started to believe in the magic of miracles. And flash forward all through life, I had scoliosis, and I had to have a surgery to repair that. They had to fuse 3 titanium rods to my spine when I was 13 years old. And wow, that was crazy. I had a back brace before that for a good year and a half as well that I had to wear full time, which was not fun, as you could imagine, in, middle school ages.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was tough. And, I always came back to this mindset. I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. This is all a part of my story. These are all just chapters in my life. And just like any story or any book or any movie, there's highs and lows, right? There's the climax and there's all the dips and everything. And that's what people really connect to. So I really linked arms with my circle, my best friends, my family. And I worked really hard at staying positive. So for me, I love to write things down. I'm a visual person, so I would write little things down. I have goals of everything from how I want my body to feel and be flexible and tall and strong and all these things. And it kind of grew from there. And I started doing energy healing work on my body before I really knew what it was, before I discovered what that was later on in life, where I would just kind of lay there and I would put myself into a bit of a meditative trance, I guess, and hold my hands on my body and just visualize sending energy through my one hand into the space of my body where I was desiring the healing, and then out the other hand, and then circulating back through. And later on, I learned it's kind of like matrix energetics. I don't know if you've read the book about that, but it's really, really magical stuff. And I've kind of just grown from there. I helped heal placenta previa that I had during my first pregnancy. If you want, I can talk a little bit about that too. I'm probably talking your ear off as it is already.
No, not at all. This is awesome, but I'm excited about this. But I do have this question. So when you started doing this energy healing, were you still a young woman at that time? Had you even heard of anything like this, or did it just come to you naturally?
Yeah, it came to me naturally. I hadn't heard of it at that point. I was a young woman. I was a teenager when I started doing that. Wow. And it was something I would just lay in bed at night and just do naturally. And then I learned about it in my 20s. Later on, I was taking some courses down in LA. They were business courses, but they offered a lot more than that. And it was really interesting because I learned about this matrix energetics, and I sourced a person locally in Ontario here, and she was teaching me how to do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did this on myself when I was younger. This is mind blowing. I didn't know this was a thing. I thought I was just making up my own stuff because I did that all the time. I was always making up things and kind of just creative that way. So yeah, it's funny how I swear to goodness, our bodies intuitively know what to do if we just take the time to listen. And that was so important for me, to just do what felt right, even though it might have seemed silly or taboo. I've really learned over the years to trust my body and trust my intuition and my gut. And that's what I did, and it worked.
Well, and I was going to say, you sound like a natural intuitive. I just interviewed on my previous podcast episode a medical intuitive, and obviously you are. You were your own first patient.
I was. Yeah, that's so cool. I can't wait to check out that episode. I love stuff like that. A medical intuitive sounds so intriguing to me because I call myself an intuitive life coach, and it's the same idea. It's being divinely guided by source as a vessel to just share truth. And so when I work with my clients, that's what I do. I don't do like a one size fits all program with everybody because everyone is unique. So for me, following that intuition is so important, and it can be applied to literally anything in life, like personally, business, doesn't matter. It's always there.
I'm curious about that because, I've had a lot of Reiki masters on this show, and I have personal friends who are Reiki masters, energy work to heal. So the one you mentioned, the matrix, what is it? Matrix?
Matrix energetics.
Yeah. Is that similar to Reiki, would you say?
I believe it is. Yeah. I've had a Reiki session before and I don't practice it myself, but to me, it feels the same. It's the same idea of the movement of the energy you can use your hands, the mind, the power of the intuition and everything, but it's very similar from my understanding.
Well, let's go back to, because, I have like 9 jillion questions for you. But because you mentioned it earlier, and I'm sure a lot of women would like to hear about, you healed yourself post-pregnancy?
Yes, during pregnancy, actually. So it was my first successful pregnancy. I had 2 miscarriages leading up to this point, and I was pregnant for the 3rd time with my son, Jackson. And I was diagnosed with placenta previa, which is where the placenta covers the cervix. So that means that I wouldn't have been able to have a natural birth. I would have had to have a C-section. And I was so determined in my mind to have a home birth because I wasn't able to have just a regular C-section. If I had to go to the hospital, they would have had to put me under because I can't have an epidural because of the rods in my spine, like fused to my spine. There's no way that they could get the needle into my spine. There's metal in the way. Wow. So they told me, if you do have to go to the hospital, we'll have to put you to sleep. And I was like, there's no way I'm missing the birth of my baby. So I was just really hell-bent on having my baby at home, heaven-bent, I should say. And so, yeah, they did an ultrasound and they discovered that the placenta was covering my cervix. And they said, if this doesn't move, like by the end of your term, we'll just have to schedule you for a C-section. So I was like, nope, not going to happen. I went home that day and I started doing the energy work on myself again. And what I did was, same idea. I would lay in bed just for a few moments at a time. It didn't take much time, but I was very conscious and intentional in my actions. And I would lay my hands on my stomach and I would envision moving the placenta. And it's so funny because before I did this, I quickly just went online to see what does placenta previa look like? And I just wanted to have a visual in my mind so I could see what it needed to be in order for me to have a successful home birth. So yeah, I literally just moved it with my mind every day. I just practiced laying there and moving the energy around in my body, in my womb. And I, for whatever reason, chose to move it up high on my top right side. And flash forward a couple of months, they checked again to do like a follow-up appointment to see if it was still in the same spot. And the ultrasound tech, I'll never forget it. She's like, oh my gosh, she's like, I don't know where it went. It's right off of the radar. So you're good to go. And I was like, perfect. But then I asked her, I was like, if you don't mind, can you please tell me, can you look and try and find where it is? Because I wanted to know if it had gone where I had consciously put it. And sure enough, I got goosebumps right now. Sure enough, she told me exactly where it was. And it's exactly where I put it, that top right-hand corner. And I was like, that was a really solidifying moment for me again and again, because these miracles happen all the time, right? But it's like, they never get old. They're always mind-blowing. And it's like magic, like spirit bumps throughout my body. And I was just so grateful. And I ended up having a beautiful rest of my pregnancy, home birth, all natural in the water, no complications. And I did it twice. I had a daughter 2 years after that as well at home. So I'm so lucky.
That is so awesome because, my viewers and listeners are used to me talking, saying everything is energy and energy is real. And it makes complete sense to me that you would be able to use your very real energetic thoughts to move around and heal yourself. That is awesome. I want to go back to one more thing about the issues you had when you were born. When you were a youngster, you said you had scoliosis. I thought I had read it was spina bifida, but
it was both, yeah.
Oh, and so it was that bad as a baby. You had to have a surgery.
It was, yeah. So I was born with spina bifida, which is when the spinal cord develops on the outside of the vertebrae. But I had a really unique case because for me, my body had naturally grown a lump of fatty tissue right at the base of my spine on the outside. So I had this little lump there. And the doctor said, oh, it's just a fatty growth. Sometimes babies are born with these little abnormalities. No big deal. She'll grow into it and it'll just disappear. But my mom said that when she would hold me on my back, any pressure that was on that lump, I would scream. And so she had to hold me like a football for those first few months of my life, hanging down. And even all the pictures that I have, which is very few, because of course back then film, I was always on my stomach. And so she took me to several different specialists before the one doctor discovered that indeed I had spina bifida and I needed surgery right away, because any wrong bump or anything could have paralyzed me, because it could have done so much damage to like literally my spinal cord, my nerves. So he fixed that. But then I guess what happens is, and I should say this too, they told my mom that I would likely never walk. I would be in a wheelchair. I would probably never have bodily control over like functions and stuff like that, like be in diapers, just because of how bad it was. And they weren't able to remove all of the fatty tissue that was there. They kind of stopped somewhat through the surgery, but miracles happen, my friend. And sure enough, like she worked with me. I started dancing when I was 3 years old, no problems whatsoever, no wheelchairs, no diapers beyond an like unreasonable time. So that was that. But I guess like 75% of people that have spina bifida develop scoliosis. So that's what happened to me. Later in life, I developed scoliosis because of the spina bifida. And scoliosis is the curvature of the spine. So when I hit puberty, my spine just kind of like coiled up. It literally was left to right, front to back, 45-degree angles, curvatures. I was like hunched over. It just right up there. And that's when I had to have my second surgery. They tried a back brace for 1.5 years, but it wasn't doing anything. I was growing so quickly. And yeah, so I had to have like a 14.5-hour surgery, and it was traumatizing. They told me again, I might not be able to walk. Like there's a 50% chance you could be paralyzed. And it was really scary. But same thing. I just had this outcome in my mind that I would focus on. Like, I'm going to be able to dance still, and I'm going to stand up really tall. I'll be a couple inches taller even, because my spine will be straightened out. Like I focused on all of these things. And luckily, again, by the grace of God, I was able to get through it and prevail.
Wow. Yes, lucky for us and you. You're like the personification of line 1 of page 1 of A Course in Miracles. There's no order of difficulty in miracles. That's line 1 of page 1. Yeah.
I love that you said that. I have that book right here behind me. That's one of my very favorite books.
Well, this show is quite a bit about A Course in Miracles. I've been a student of it for 16, 17 years. Yeah, I've had many ACIM experts on this show. I want to ask you this question, because I'm curious about this. Do you think that a person has to undergo a personal catastrophe in order to grow and wake up to their purpose in life? It seems like that's the case, but do you think that's a mandatory?
This is such a great question. No one's ever asked me this before, Carl. I love your questions. You know what? I don't think anything is mandatory. I think anything is possible. However, I do think that these types of catastrophes catapult our growth. And I know one thing for sure. My grandfather always used to say to me, if you're not growing, you're dying. And the only way that we can grow is to go through uncomfortable situations. So just like a flower bursts through the soil, there's effort there, and there's uncomfortable feelings and sensations, I think, that we have to go through, because if we're not, then I think we're just kind of staying stagnant, if not depleting. So for me, I think I've actually become celebratory over obstacles and trials and things like this in my life, because now I get excited because it's a chance to grow. Like, this is like the universe bringing to me something that I can grow from or grow through. And it's almost like a gift, when something comes up and presents itself that I've never been through before. I think that's the best way to grow, because otherwise, how would we know if we're growing, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm a big champion of free will. And I've gotten to the point in my spiritual growth where I believe that we can choose through free will to not have a catastrophe or catharsis in our life. But you're absolutely right. I think as we grow, there are, those dark areas that happen, just like you did. And especially when you're young, it just happens, it's part of your journey at that point. But yeah, I think as you get older, and if you can understand, I believe you can use your free will, utilize it to choose no catastrophes. And I wish more people would understand that.
Oh, I love that. It's such a good point. You're so right. And I think that comes with time and with overcoming and learning the lessons and actually integrating, because if we're not integrating all of these lessons and really taking it in and learning and growing from them, then I feel like the universe has this really cyclical pattern of repeating itself and just hammering it home, like, okay, you've got to get this, you got to get this, and it'll bring us another catastrophe after another in order for us to learn from it. So I think you're right. And I think it's a part of that like evolved spiritual journey. As we grow, then like perhaps less catastrophes happen to us because we've gotten the lesson and we can move forward and just shine on. I love that.
And we would hope that people do learn that, but everybody's got their own individual journeys. But I understand that since you've talked about it, you're an intuitive and an empath. How does that help you be a good life coach in helping your clients that you work with?
Well, I'm a huge believer in energy and picking up on people's energy. So as an empath, I'm constantly picking up on what other people are feeling, emotions and things like that. And so for me, it's very helpful because then I can really connect with my clients, as well as hold a non-judgmental space, because I can remove myself from the situation, connect genuinely and really serve what they're needing at that moment, because moment to moment, everyone's different. And even though I'm working with the same person, sometimes really different circumstances can be happening. So for me, it's a really, I'm really thankful for this gift because I feel like it's really leveled up my own practice as well. So I think it really amplifies the services that I can offer because I can just kind of tap into what people are going through and get really specific to help.
I know a lot of empaths, and really, I guess almost everybody is empathetic in some form or way or shape. Some empaths, though, just absorb everybody's energy and they take it upon themselves and they end up not being healthy. I've seen empaths being sick because of that. Wow. Have you learned how to let another person's negative energy go in order so you can live your own life?
Absolutely. And Carl, that's so key what you just said right there, because it's true, especially as empaths, like you said, everyone does pick up on energy. And then especially like empaths, if we aren't really conscious of clearing that, we end up taking that on as our own truth, which is not truth. So for me, I have a very strict practice after I'm finished working with my clients, and even just general things. Like if I go out in public and I'm feeling a lot of stuff, I always come home and I always come back to self. So I'll take time for me. I'll ground myself. I'll do a little meditation. I'll clear my energy space. I like to use sage and essential oils and crystals and whatever I'm feeling drawn to at that time, drinking a lot of water, and then like visually, like intuitively cutting the cord of connection, just so there aren't any tethers there that are holding on that are unnecessary. And then it works. It definitely works, because I didn't do that a long time ago. And I was always the go-to person that people would come to whenever they needed to talk something out or they were going through something terrible in their life. And I would take a lot of that energy on, and it does catch up with you over time. And it's not healthy. It's not a healthy way to do it. So for sure, definitely, you got to take care of yourself after sessions like that.
Well, if you're watching this or listening to this and you're an empath, listen to what Krysta said. There's some very good advice. You mentioned that. I long ago started carrying a crystal because crystals do absorb negative energy. Yeah. So anything you can do to stay on course. There's another thing. I'm just so curious because you have such an amazing, awesome life. Was there a particular turning point in your life so far to help you point you into a positive, loving, happy, and healthy way? Was there a particular instant, or maybe not?
Yeah, there was actually. When I was in my early 20s, I had gotten out of a 7-year long relationship that was not very healthy. And it was my first time being on my own and like single in the world since like high school. So I hadn't really discovered myself. And I took some time during that time. Like there was a good half a year period there where I focused on myself. I started reading tons. That's when I like really dove deep into like personal development and spirituality and things like that. And that point in my life when I was just taking time for me, that's when everything really, really changed. Because before that, like I was always really drawn to these types of things. And, you know, even just like the spiritual world and the afterlife and all these questions that I had growing up, like my dad had passed away when I was 11. So I was always like thinking about like, what is life and why are we here? And I had all these questions, but I didn't really start digging until my early 20s. And that really shifted everything for me. And actually, that's when I was able to attract my husband, my now husband, DJ, whom I love and adore infinitely. And we've been together for 15 years now. We have 2 beautiful children. I don't think I would have attracted that relationship if I had of not taken the time to get to know me and figure out who I am and just start that journey along that path of self-discovery. And I'm glad it happened in my early 20s. However, I wish it would have happened sooner. And that's what I'm teaching my kids now. I'm teaching them the things now that I wish I had known back then. And hopefully they'll be so much further along than I am at this age.
Well, your kids are awful lucky to have you as a mom and DJ as having you as a wife, because gosh, your attitude is just so beautiful. And, you know, you also are a personification for a long, long time as a life coach. One of my key phrases is I want my clients to unleash their inner champion. We all have a champion waiting within us, and many people suppress it their entire life because society and the ego-driven world pounds it out of us. And they wonder why they're unhappy for the first 60 years of their life until finally at some point, oh yeah, wait, there's an inner champion in me. Yeah, gosh. You know what? You'd be a good life coach.
Oh, thank you. I think you would be too, Carl.
Speaking of that, how did you go about becoming a life coach?
Yeah, well, again, it kind of started when I was I'd say my late 20s, but like I had always been this go-to person that people would come to help with things. So over the years, I had people saying to me all the time, Chris, you should really like do this as a living. Like you're so good at what you do. And you've got all these things that are really helpful, because I was always the person taking all the courses. I was going to all the workshops, doing all the masterminds, reading all the books, you name it, traveling around the country and around to the States to take courses and work with really incredible people. And so finally one day I was like, I can do this. Why not? Like I love serving others and I love helping other people. And so for me, it kind of just naturally evolved into that, which is really nice, because I feel like it's a great way to give back, as well as share the knowledge that I've accumulated over time, and, you know, like pass over the tools that I've got in my kit here, because we could all use them and there's so many of them. So why not? And that's kind of how it just came to be.
Yeah, and it's a great field too. When I found out, I came to it a little bit later in life, and I found out I could do this, and I said, wait a second, I can make a living doing what I love and helping people. Okay,
right?
Sign me up.
I know, it's amazing, because like I was already meeting up with people for coffee dates and talking about life and all these things. I was like, why not bring a notebook and a pen and like let's like hack our lives. Let's see how we can improve and grow forward. And, you know, I work with friends like as accountability partners and things like that. And it just totally evolved from there. And I feel like for me, it's great because I can do it from home, and I love working from home because then I'm home with my kids and I can create my own schedule and have time freedom, and it's a win-win job. So it's just, for me, it's so fitting and so natural and so perfect. I couldn't ask for anything more.
Yeah, awesome. Good for you. But, I'm really excited to find out about your career as a professional actor and a professional singer. I mean, this is just amazing. I'm guessing people in Ontario and Canada know you pretty well from TV and your music. So how'd that happen too? I think I read you grew up kind of in the theater and singing.
I did, yeah. Yeah, I started dance when I was 3, and then my mom put me in acting classes around the same age, I think 4 maybe, and then all kinds of theater growing up. So just local Broadway shows that we would have here around the area. And then eventually I got into the film and television industry professionally in 2009. And I was always singing before that too. I joined a choir when I was 7, and I sang, like, we would go around and do a little tours and things like that, and played with different bands over the years. But 2009 was a really big year for me. And again, this was after I'd met my husband, he was just so supportive of me. And by that time, like after that last relationship that I had really dulled my shine, and I kind of put singing off and dancing off and all the things that I used to love to do. I kind of just stopped. So my husband, in 2008, we got married, and in 2009, he was like, you should really get out there and pursue it again. And so I did. I started acting again. I started recording music again, and it kind of just evolved from there over time. I like did some music videos and just various shows acting around here locally, and I did a lot of stand-in work, which is a lot of fun, and also performing like anthems at local sporting events and things. So that was really cool. Yeah, I was a regular anthem singer for the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Bulldogs, which is really awesome. And I just love it. It's nice because like I would consider myself maybe locally famous, like just the odd time people would recognize me in public, but I kind of prefer it that way. I'm super silly. I'm like an omnivert. So I'm very much introverted, but I can be very extroverted as well. But I get really shy and nervous for some reason when it comes to like singing in front of small groups or performing in front of small groups. So like when there's thousands of people in a stadium, I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm the opposite when it's like small, like little intimate shows and such.
Well, I see that you've been gravitating towards country music. How's a girl from Canada getting gravitate towards country music?
I know, it's funny. Well, I did grow up in the countryside. I don't know if that has much to do with it, but my grandparents, my papa actually, he was always listening to country music, like old school country music. He had one of those radio players that was like this giant box on the floor that had like a built-in record player, and like you could turn the dial. It was like so cool. Mm-hmm. And he always had country music playing on, and it was funny because like I never really enjoyed it growing up until again I met my husband, and he was super into country. Like he had the boots and the hats and he was just like a typical cowboy. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of fell in love with it that way. And it was very different for me because I was used to more doing like pop R&B before that. And so this was like a whole new world for me, but it was so natural. I was like, oh my gosh, because like everything I'm writing about, singing about is just life, like my life as it is. I was never a city girl. I tried living in the city once for a year and did not last. I need nature, I need space, I need the trees and all these things. So yeah, it was a good fit. And I took a trip down to Nashville several years ago, and it was just like, oh, this is like home. It was so amazing. I have to go back.
Yeah, there are some amazing musicians in Nashville. What I call them pickers. Some of the funniest guitar, banjo players, mandolin players. But actually, I was checking out a couple of your tunes on Spotify, and a couple songs I really like. My Mistake in The Home That Raised Me. And I'm actually going to try to maybe slip one or two of those songs into this podcast here in between our chat here. How can you tell us about those couple songs, and if you have any more?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning in. That means a lot to me, because they're my babies. Like I remember writing them. The Home That Raised Me, that one was done first. It was a song about the house that I grew up in, out in the countryside in Alberton, Ontario, and my mom and dad built it. It was a dream home that they built. We all worked on it from our bare hands and built it up. And we spent only a short few years in there before my dad got really sick with cancer. he ended up passing in that home, and we were all there with him. We were all surrounded by him at the time, and we lived there for several years after he passed on, but then we had to sell the house and we moved. But I would secretly drive back once in a while and go and visit it and just sit there and look at it and just dream like, one day I'm going to buy this back. I'm going to buy it back for my brother and sisters, and we're all going to be able to live here again. And because it had like 27 acres and we could all put a house there, and it was just a dream spot. It was beautiful. And one day I went back, Carl, and it was gone. They tore it down right to the dirt, and I was crushed. I cried, and it was really upsetting. So what I do naturally is I turn my wounds into music, and that's what I did. I went home and I had fallen asleep and woke up, and the song was in my head, and it was one of those things where I just couldn't stop writing, and I'm crying all over the paper, and there's ink spots everywhere, and the song came out, and that was it, tip to tail. It was done, and it just naturally flowed.
And right now, let's give a listen to Canada's own Krysta Lee and her song, The Home That Raised Me.
Many dreams in life come true, like falling in love, having a family too, and building that dream home up from the ground. So it went from mom and dad, they met in love, 3 kids they had. They looked for a piece of land until it was found. We all teamed up to build that home. They poured the concrete, we raked the stone, and together we gave life to their big dream. Memories, they come, they go so fast, it's crazy. Before you know, you're a grown-up kid looking back on it all. We walked those trails, we fed them deer, and we made bug pies in that field through summer, spring, the winter and fall. If I had the choice, I wouldn't go, I'd stay forever. This I know, it is the only place I wanna be. You can take these rocks, take these walls, oh, take that concrete, take it all, but please don't take the home that raised me. Year by year, time had changed, and Dad got sick. Dear God, we prayed. It was a dream that somehow went all wrong. Dad let go, he moved on up to the heavens while in that home, and we were broken but we all were strong. That house was different with Daddy gone, my brother, sister, and our mom. The 4 of us, we had to carry on. Memories, they come, they go so fast, it's crazy. Before you know, you're a grown-up kid who's looking back on it all. We raced those ducks out in the barn, we went canoeing in that pond, and every winter the ice we skated on. If I had the choice, I'd never leave, I'd stay forever, begging please, this is the only place I wanna be. You can take that rooftop, take those floors, oh, take them nails out of them boards, but please don't take the home that raised me. Memories, they come, they go so fast, it's crazy. Before you know it, you're a grown-up kid who's looking back on it all. We got through as time went on, a kindred spirit. She came along and brought with her new warmth into the halls. And now I have the choice, I choose to go, and I'll move along down the new road and leave this place as just a memory. it raised me.
And then similar story with My Mistake. That one's about my husband, which is funny because we can laugh about it now, but there's a lot of stuff in there that was not so fun at the time. And, you know, like any relationship, it has its ups and downs. And whenever we would have these hard times, I would like often turn to my book and write about it. But this one came out pretty much all in one go. It might have been about 2 sittings if I think back, but that was a lot of fun. And actually that one has a really great music video too, because we took his truck. He had an old pickup truck that was no longer running and he was going to be scrapping it. And I was like, why don't we like use the truck and trash it and make it into this fun video for My Mistake? And so we did. And he's in the beginning of the video and he like tears off on a motorcycle that he borrowed from our Uncle Jim. And we shot the whole thing for like $100. It was incredible, but we had like an amazing crew that was there with us, like to record and do like hair and makeup and dancers. And we shot it at my family's property, which was an old flea market out in Dundas, Ontario. And it was just epic. It was a full day of shooting. It was freezing cold here in November. My fingers are like purple in some of the scenes. You can see.
And let's listen right now to another song by Krysta Lee. Her song, My Mistake.
If you really meant what you said to me on the weekend, well, babe, you'd be here. There'd be no more dang excuses. So why do you tell those lies? Stand back, baby, I'm gonna break. Oh, look what you gone and done did now. Talk about the straw that broke my back. Oh, how about we turn the table round? It's about time you pick up the slack. Oh, do you like me now? I am feeling under attack. There's nowhere to turn, no more left to burn. Guess you'll never learn. It's too late, baby, you're my mistake. You come around talking cheap, talking faking promises, but your words are about as hollow as a trumpet. You can try, baby, but you can't play me like an instrument. Don't come around talking cheap, talking faking promises. So why do you tell those lies? 'Cause I'm about to blow, feel it in my soul, coming out my bones. Stand back, baby, I'm gonna break. Oh, look what you gonna done did now. Talk about the straw that broke my back. Oh, how about we turn the table around? It's about time you pick up the slack. Oh, do you like me now? I am feeling under attack. There's nowhere to turn, no more left to burn. Guess I'll never learn. It's too late, baby, you're my mistake. Oh, yeah. Oh, look what you've gone and done it now. Talk about the straw that broke my back. Oh, how about we turn the table around? It's about time you pick up the slack. Oh, how do you like me now? I am feeling under attack. 'Cause there's nowhere to turn, no more left to burn. Guess you'll never learn. It's too late, baby, you're my mistake.
And then, yeah, I've got some other tunes too. Like there's another one on my Spotify that's called He's Gone Fishing.
Oh,
And
yeah, I think I heard it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that one also is about my husband because he used to love to go on these fishing trips and I would be at home like missing him. And so I just made a fun song about that. I was like, oh, like I'm sure a lot of women can relate to this one when their hubbies go away on their trips and And that, so I think like for me, like writing is so therapeutic. So I really love connecting with people. So I try and just share my truth and hope that it lands on someone or in someone that's going through something similar. And then like perhaps could bring them some hope, light, healing, whatever it is, or just get it out, release the energy. Because that's what music did for me. All growing up, music healed me over and over and over again. And it continues to do so. And I'm sure it always will.
Yeah, music's good for healing. But that's cool. You have a video of these because I've only heard it. I'm going to have to, is it on YouTube or?
It is on YouTube. Yep, it's on YouTube on my YouTube page. And then as well on my website, there's a link to the My Mistake right on there. Under the music tab, you'll see a little YouTube link that you can click there and watch it. It's so much fun. It's a real fire, real bullets, real guns. Like totally broke all the rules of like film and stuff because you're supposed to, use blanks and that, but no one will know. No one said anything. And I was like, it's like that was back in like 2015 or something. But
this is awesome. So your talent knows no boundaries. I mean, you're an author too. Tell us about these books that you have. Mama's Gotta Grow, Mama's Gotta Work, and a couple others. How did these come about? And they're bestsellers?
They're bestsellers. Yeah, they all hit bestseller status on Amazon, which was so crazy. And I never thought that was going to happen. I never envisioned they'd win awards, which all 4 of them have. They've all won Book Excellence Awards, which is incredible. So how it kind of came to be was he was 4 months old, and I was working in the film industry. And I was having a hard time because when I went back to work, I was like experiencing all these things that no one had really talked about. And I was like, how come no one told me like this, like about like pumping or like whatever it was, just all these things I was experiencing. And I was like, there should be a book about this. And I was looking and I couldn't find one. So I was like, I'll just write it. And that's how it kind of came to be. And so, but what I did was I wanted to have like as many different mothers' perspectives as possible. So for Mama's Gotta Work, I hand selected like 20 different moms that had gone back to work after having kids, and just invited them all to share their personal stories of trials and triumphs and all the things. And we had an incredible group of moms from all across North America and even Australia, and all different ages and stages of kids, all different amounts of kids, which was really cool. And it was just so beautiful. It was like such a collaborative piece that really did well. And it did so well that we decided to write another one. And then the second one was Mama's Gotta Grow. And that one we dug a little bit deeper. So we went more into like the personal growth after becoming a mother. And again, like a bunch of different moms from all across North America sharing all their different stories. And then Women Let's Rise was the book that I was invited to write a chapter in from my dear friend Lola. And that was incredible as well. It was all about empowering women and working together and just lifting one another up. And I was so honored to be a part of that project. And then there was one called Lighting the North, which was just about shine. Like for me, I wrote a poem in that one, and it was about shining on like a North Star and being a person of different multicultural backgrounds and how we fit in. And it was just such an honor to be a part of that one too, because it was produced by my publisher, actually, Kylie Hansen of GBR Publishing. So cool. It's like this world of a family now, like in this world of authors that I've been so grateful to join and collaborate with. And we just keep popping out books. We did 2 in 2020 and then another couple the year after, and we're working on more. So it's never ending. Yeah.
You're not bored. This is great. And I love the fact that women are now helping to empower themselves. You know, the divine feminine is really starting to rise. And I've talked to Renee and my friends Eleni about, you know, women have been dominated and oppressed and suppressed and enslaved throughout all the history of humanity. And it's so beautiful to see women supporting each other and rising. I love it. So good for you.
Yeah.
That's your sisters are thanking you too, and the men too, because we need to learn this. So being the busy woman that you are, how do you find time to live a balanced family and personal life with everything that you're involved with? I'm sure other women would like to know about that.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm a Libra, so every time I hear the word balance, I'm like tipping the scales in my mind, trying to weigh everything the same. But I've learned the hard way. It's actually impossible to balance it all. Like for me, it's more of a working in harmony with each project that I'm working on. So what I like to do is I like to divvy up my time. I schedule my time, and I'm just focused on one task at a time, because I feel like if we're multitasking too much, we're not really like putting our all into that, whatever it is we're doing. So I literally schedule everything, Carl. I have my phone, which is like my lifesaver, and I put everything in there that I'm doing that day, week, month, year. I pre-plan everything. Every Sunday I sit down and map out the week ahead. Every month I sit down and map up the next month, and every year the same thing. And I have a lot of harmony between my masculine and feminine energy. So as much as I'm a doer and I'm focused and I'm achieving and all these things in the masculine, I'm also open, and I leave lots of space open for my feminine, which is to flow and to tune in and tap in and all that, and just go with the breeze. So I think it's a matter of choosing your non-negotiables for every single day and working with those, like my daily rituals and things that I want to work on every single day, like for myself or my practice, whatever it is. And then leave space as well. And then giving myself grace, which I don't think we do enough in this world. I think we all need to give ourselves a pat on the back and honor ourselves for how far we've come, and celebrate those little moments, and check off those things on our list, and be grateful for where we are. It's a practice. It's definitely a practice, and it's something that I work towards improving every day, and it's working so far. So good. Fingers crossed we can keep it going.
And that's not just advice for women. I mean, men could definitely take a cue from you on how you do that. So, but we're talking to Krysta Lee, an amazing singer, author, actress, you name it, mom, on and on, life coach. So I'd like to go back to your personal spiritual growth. What does spirituality mean to you, and what role does it play in your life?
Well, spirituality to me is a huge, huge part of my life, because I truly believe that we are spirits having a human experience. And spirituality to me means tuning into truth and honoring self and honoring others, and this oneness, this infinite connection that we all have and that we all share. And I truly, truly believe that every single one of us, every single thing on this planet, every sentient being, even plants, animals, everything, we're all connected. Mm-hmm. And so to me, being spiritual means honoring that. Even just like namaste, it's the same. To me, it's the same. And I really, truly believe that by honoring self and others, we lift everyone up, and we just really like amplify and serve the collective as a whole, and raise each other's consciousness, which I think is so important, especially for this age of love that we're entering and that we're in, the age of light. And I love spirituality. And for me, like, there's so many different parts about it that resonate so deeply. And I've kind of been a bit of a really interested person as far as like learning about all different kinds of spirituality, like methods and techniques, and like different backgrounds and different people in the world think and do, and how are they spiritual. And for me, I kind of just like, I mesh it all together in love and just spread it. Like, spread love is my hashtag all the time. And that's what it is to me.
Well, I like that you said when you honor yourself, you honor those around you in the world, which meshes perfectly. This morning when I was studying A Course in Miracles, one of the lines was, I bless the world when I bless myself.
Yes.
And it's just perfect in alignment with you here. So we're going to wind up here in just a couple minutes. Our world, Canada's experienced, the whole world, every country in the world has experienced the craziness of chaos and fear in today's world. You have 2 young children. How do you help them deal with the crazy world around you?
Yeah, it's been tricky. But for me, what I do is I tell the truth. I really firmly believe in telling the truth to them. And like, now they are 3 and 5, so they're still quite young. But when this all started, and like even just the beginning of the pandemic and everything, they were quite young. I think it's so important to be fully transparent, not just with ourselves and with each other as adults, but with our kids, because they know, like, they're not slow. They catch on to everything, and they pick up everything like a sponge. So I do my best to guide them along their path with so much love and so much gratitude, and sharing all the lessons and giving them as many tools as possible, but then also stepping back and allowing them to explore and learn and grow. So we've been really lucky as far as like things affecting them. It's not so much like I don't think it has, like, it doesn't seem to have anyway, not the same that I've noticed in like some older kids, like some of my friends that have older kids, like teenagers and things like that are really having a difficult time because they can see so much more of the world without the guidance of a parent so close. So I'm really fortunate that my kids are still so young and hopefully weren't too affected by anything at this point. But I know, like, you know, life happens, and no matter what, there's going to be something down the road. So I do my best to equip them with as much tools as possible so that they can go out in the world and not just survive, but thrive on their own and do so much better than me. And that's the goal. So we homeschool. I'm constantly taking them to as many places as possible to like learn new things and explore new parts of our earth here. And it's working so far, so good. They're happy, they're healthy, they're whole, and they're so great. They're just beautiful, kind-hearted starseed souls that are so, so loving and warm and gentle. And I definitely hit the lottery when they came through to the side of the plane.
And what more could a parent want than that? So, congratulations. I'll tell you, anybody who happens to be driving through Prince Edward County in Ontario, if you see a bright shining star, it's probably Krysta Lee.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you, Carl.
You're just so inspiring, and to live a balanced life with all that you do, a professional singer, actress, author, life coach, everything. So thank you so much, Krysta, for being on World Awakening. So what is your website, and how can people find your music, and how can they get in touch to be coached with you, or where can they even see you on TV?
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything is listed on my website. So my website is KrystaLee.com. That's Krysta with a K, Krysta, Lee.com. And everything is there. So links to my music, links to the shows that I worked on, a page on how to work with me. Everything is there at the fingertips. All the social media handles are there as well. So I love connecting with new people on social media. Absolutely. Send me a message and I would be more than happy to connect anytime.
Very cool. Thank you, Krysta. It's been a total blast talking to you. Very enlightening, and your energy really is phenomenal. It's really lifted me up. Thank you so much.
Oh, Carl, you are amazing. Thank you so much. The feeling is mutual, my friend. Thank you.
This has been another episode of World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with host Carl Gruber, a certified law of attraction life coach. We welcome you to tune in to each and every episode of World Awakenings as we open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now more than ever awakening to the truth of all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how much they play an all-important role in our moment-to-moment daily life. Much love and light to you, my friend, and thank you for tuning into World Awakenings.